This chaotic barrage of data represents modern web development. Today's applications must manage robust security, massive scalability, and rapid feature iteration simultaneously. When developers rely on raw, unstructured server-side scripting to meet these demands, the system inevitably buckles. Without strict boundaries, logic and presentation become knotted together in a way that is difficult to untangle or maintain. The breaking point often occurs when database queries, application logic, and user interface rendering are forced into a single script. This creates a brittle monolith, where a single change to the UI can inadvertently break the database connection. Laravel was engineered as an open-source PHP framework specifically to address this structural failure. It provides the architectural boundaries that raw scripting lacks. Laravel organizes code using the Model View Controller, or MVC, pattern, separating the application into 3 distinct layers. Each has an isolated responsibility. The model handles database logic. The view manages the user interface. The controller dictates application routing and business logic, coordinating the other 2. This strict automated pipeline provides a standardized structure, enforcing specific, predictable rules for how data moves through the system. To understand the advantages of this structure, we have to deconstruct the engine by tracing the sequential lifecycle of an HTTP request. The process begins when a client, like a web browser or mobile app, sends an HTTP request to the Laravel backend. The first architectural component the request hits is the Laravel router. Acting as an air traffic controller, the router scans an internal map of endpoints, directing the request to its specific logic. Before any business logic executes, the request must pass through a security gate known as middleware. Middleware serves as the primary security layer, scanning the request for valid authentication credentials and cross-site request forgery tokens. By isolating routing and security filtering at the edge of the application, Laravel prevents unverified data from reaching the core business logic. Once the request is cleared, it reaches the controller, the central processing unit of the MVC architecture. The controller dictates exactly how the application should respond, executing the specific business logic required for that request. Developers use the artisan command line interface to generate the structure for these controllers automatically, rather than building them from scratch. Utilizing the artisan CLI reduces boilerplate code and ensures structure remains consistent. Inside the controller, the application performs form validation, scanning the payload for malicious input and ensuring only valid data proceeds. While the controller serves as the authority for application logic, it remains lean by delegating data retrieval to external layers. When the controller needs data, it sends a signal down to the model layer. This layer is managed by Laravel's Eloquent Object Relational Mapper, or ORM. Eloquent acts as a translator, converting object-oriented PHP code into optimized, complex SQL queries for the database. This abstraction allows the application to remain database agnostic, meaning you can switch between MySQL, PostgreSQL, or SQLite without rewriting your logic. A common challenge in development is maintaining a consistent database schema across different server environments. Laravel's solution is migrations, a form of version control for your database. They provide a blueprint that ensures the schema is replicated exactly across every server instance. These work alongside seeders, which can automatically populate the schema with sample data for testing purposes. By abstracting SQL through Eloquent and standardizing schemas with migrations, Laravel maintains data integrity and allows for iteration without database-level regressions. Once the data is retrieved, it flows back through the model and returns to the controller. The controller must now format this data for the user, following one of 2 distinct paths based on the application's design. Path A supports traditional web applications. The controller passes the data to the view layer, which uses the Blade templating engine. Blade compiles the data into dynamic HTML components, using template inheritance to keep the interface code modular. Path B is for API-first architectures. The controller bypasses the view layer and formats the data into a RESTful JSON response. These API endpoints can be protected by protocols like Laravel Sanctum, allowing the framework to serve as a backend for mobile apps or JavaScript frontends. The request lifecycle is now complete. This multi-stage pipeline ensures that every response has been processed through the framework's security and validation protocols. While the core request pipeline handles standard operations, Enterprise applications often require higher levels of scale and concurrency. Synchronous requests can become a bottleneck. Heavy tasks like processing video or sending large batches of emails can cause the controller to hang. Laravel addresses this with its queues and jobs system, which routes high-intensity workloads away from the main request path. Processing these tasks in the background shortens the primary request response cycle, allowing the user to continue interacting with the application without delay. The wider Laravel ecosystem offers a unified first-party toolkit for backend development, integrating complex features that would otherwise require managing a fragmented collection of third-party libraries. This includes tools like Laravel Horizon, Octane for high-traffic performance, and Reverb for real-time event broadcasting. This ecosystem allows Laravel to support modern trends like cloud-native applications, serverless deployments, and scalable SaaS development. By standardizing the underlying complexity of web development, Laravel provides the architectural boundaries necessary to build maintainable software. Whether an engineering team is building a monolithic dashboard or a concurrent microservice architecture, Laravel provides the structured foundation to scale securely.